Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And it's time for a review of this new little Simz EP, Drop 7. This is a brand new EP of tracks from the best rapper in the UK today. Yeah, I said that, and I meant it. Little Simz, who has built quite the name for herself as of late. She's really hit a major creative stride as we've transitioned into the 2020s, which has led to a lot of critical acclaim, accolades, and awards. I highly recommend the raw, lyrical, and hard-hitting Gray Area. It's just a relentless barrage of grimy beats and strong bars. It is not Simz' first record, but I do think it works as a great introduction to her rap ability and style. She then followed that up with the amazing 2021 album, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, a lavishly produced record that was decked out in gorgeous strings, had kind of a narrative progression to it with some storybook-like transitions, and some of the headiest writing in rap music in this decade so far. For some in this short amount of time, Little Simz has truly become a life-changing artist, and this incredible streak she's been on continued onto 2022's No Thank You, which had some stellar standouts on it. Maybe to a degree, the album was kind of a bunch of leftovers from Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, but it was still worth sharing, especially with thrilling bangers on it like Gorilla. Now, any fan who's been paying attention to Simbi's output thus far has noticed that there's a bit of a pattern going on as we have these larger, grander, more ambitious records being sandwiched in between the shorter ones that aren't quite as conceptual, are more cut to the chase, which has put Simz on one of the most methodical release schedules in all of hip-hop, and it goes vastly, vastly underappreciated. And her EP output actually plays into this pattern as well in a way, as she's been putting out these shorter records that she calls drops for about 10 years now at this point. This one obviously being labeled as number 7. And while these little projects may not contain her best and most memorable work a lot of the time, what's interesting is she often offers something different on these records, especially since she has kind of defined and developed her style in a much more specific and distinct way on her core albums as of late. And yeah, Drop 7 is no exception to that rule, as we have 7 tracks on this thing. Many of them are on the short side and also feature some of the most low-key, clubby, and kind of chill production Simbi has ever flowed on. There's the opener Mood Swings, which is one of the meteor cuts here, which is like this hip-hop and EDM fusion with cerebral, quiet drum machine loops, as well as some huge booming West African rhythm drops. Dynamic rap flows too. It's kind of giving MIA. The variations in intensity on the track certainly make it worthy of the title Mood Swings too. The MIA vibes also continue on to the following track, Fever, especially with this deflating vocal delivery, plus the polyrhythm breaks, the cross-cultural clash of stylistic influences on the lyrics and the instrumental. I wish it was longer, and I also know that these drops aren't usually indicative of the shape of the music to come on the next album per se, but I do hope we hear something like this, but a bit more developed on the next Simz record, especially since she's been branching out a little bit into different genres of music on tracks like Point and Kill, and hearing this much MIA influence executed so well on a new track is refreshing, because I think she often goes underappreciated for being the trailblazer that she was. There's also the track Torch, which I thought was a major highlight here. It has these playful, quiet refrains delivered in this mousy little voice, which is then contrasted with much sturdier flows that feature this effortless charisma. The following SOS is more of a dance cut, as it doesn't really feature a whole lot of Simbi rapping and singing, but I still do love the production on the track, all of the endless, entrancing loops of hand drums touched with just a bit of psychedelic reverb. It's great. You can really get lost in it, even though it's not lasting a particularly long time. Following this, there are a couple of shorties on the EP. I Ain't Feeling It being one, kind of a hypnotic trap cut with some understated rapping and some watery synths enveloping the whole thing. A dreamy transition point as well. It's not blowing me away, but it's not a bad vibe either. Power is kind of the shortest track here, but it makes up for it a bit by being one of the punchiest. I mean, it does feel like a cutting room floor floor clip, that sort of thing, but it's still kind of worth a listen. And then with the closer, we have some dance beats, some dreamy jazz instrumentation, dusty, soft, distant horns. It's a sweet vibe to end off on, especially with the sense of remorse and longing and nostalgia coming off the lyrics. Whole project really kind of shows a lot of versatility despite it being so short, and again also puts Simz in the midst of some different vibes, styles, and sounds that we haven't heard quite yet, which again also the case for Drop 6 years ago. But the difference for me this time around is a lot of the stuff on this EP I actually wouldn't mind hearing Simz dive into further. But again, that's not necessarily the pattern that previous drops and albums to follow have followed. So even if this does end up being kind of a one-off random detour, something like that, it was still enjoyable and interesting to listen to all the same. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Little Simz, forever.